there. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to what I like to call, well, the horror show that is Diddy's trial. We are now week 3, and this is part 2 of my high level, if you will, review of the week. And this includes testimony, some antics inside and outside of the courtroom. So with that, we're going to be breaking down in part 2 some of the key moments that took place over the week. Necessarily, it's not all of the key moments, but some of the highlighted ones, and we'll be getting into a couple other ones outside of this part as well. Also want to let you know that I did, if you have not already checked, dropped the first part already just a few hours ago, so definitely make sure that you check that one out, because that will actually hit on one of the key moments that took place that's not provided in this part, which was the mistrial request and how far that went and what took place with that. So if you want the details of that particular element, make sure you check out part 1 if you haven't already done so already. So we've got a lot to cover, because in this key moment area, we're going to be covering a lot of the testimony from the multiple witnesses that came through this past week, to include Capricorn Clark, a young lady who is going by a pseudonym of Mia. Also, we have a stylist who, from what I understand, had a very spirited testimony given, Deontay Nash, and we'll be listening, or not listening per se, but going over some of the testimony and questions that was asked of him. Also, we've got the fire inspector, and I believe also some form of law enforcement individual as well. And so we're going to go ahead and get into all of that and whatever other tidbits of key moments that are provided here in this particular sharing. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. We are getting this sharing by way of ABC News, .com. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Now, according to abcnews.com, it shares the key moments from the third week of Sean Diddy Combs' trafficking trial. And of course, as I like to always just give a quick reminder, we know trigger warning, right? It's already been shared in the beginning, but also I will be changing some of the words and verbiages throughout, because we want to keep this YouTube friendly. So it shares that the third week of Sean Diddy Combs' trafficking and racketeering trial featured testimony from the second of 3 women expected to testify that the hip-hop mogul sexually abused them. Now, New York is where actually the trial is being held. It says that some of Sean Diddy Combs' ex-employees took a central role in the third week of his trafficking trial, including personal assistants who testified the hip-hop mogul was capricious, controlling, and violent. The week began with Capricorn Clark, a personal assistant who was later a global brand director for Combs' company. She recalled witnessing Combs beating his longtime girlfriend, the R&B singer Cassie, and said he raged about wanting to unalive rapper and romantic rival Kid Cudi. It ended with another ex-assistant testifying under the pseudonym Mia, who alleges Combs arred her during a torturous 8-year tenure working for the rap star. She is the second of 3 women expected to testify that he sexually assaulted them. Combs has pleaded not guilty. Now, the trial again will resume on Monday, which will be tomorrow, in federal court in Manhattan. And here are some of the key moments from week 3. Now, former employees of Combs' Bad Boy Entertainment described repeatedly witnessing him beat Cassie, whose real name is Cassandra, but said that they didn't report the ABUSC to law enforcement because they feared Combs would harm them. Now, Clark had testified that the day she started as Combs' personal assistant in 2004, he threatened he would unalive her if her previous work for rival rappers interfered with her work for him. Then she testified she watched in shock as Combs viciously ASSAULTED, Cassie, assaulted his on-again, off-again girlfriend for more than a decade. Now, in 2011, after learning she was dating Cudi, Clark said her heart was breaking from seeing her hit like that, and neither she nor Combs' bodyguard intervened. She said she called Cassie's mother and told her, "Please help her. I can't call the police, but you can." Weeks later, Clark said she reported what happened to Cassie to the president of Bad Boy Records. She also testified about her own run-ins with Combs, telling jurors that he kidnapped her at Pow Pow Point and took her to Cudi's house as he fumed that he was going to unalive the rapper. Now, Cudi testified that he believed Cassie and Combs had broken up. He had said his relationship with Cassie only lasted a few weeks. Clark said he stayed in Combs' SUV while he broke into the home, and she said she was fired weeks later for what she contends was a trumped up reason. One of the week's biggest developments came outside the courtroom as Cassie, 38, delivered her third child less than 2 weeks after testifying for 4 days as the prosecution's prize witness. The news of her son's birth Tuesday had reached the jury the next day when Cassie's longtime stylist, Nash, testified that he was still close to Cassie and had sent her well wishes after the birth. And of course, as you know, I have been recapping each week. So some of the testimony and particulars for some of the details of the Kid Cudi situation is in my week 2. Also, I have, testimony information from Cassie from week 1. And also I have a video about her and her love story, her enduring love story, that is, with Alex and the birth of their child. So definitely, if you haven't had an opportunity, you wish to get some of those details, definitely make sure you take a watch at those videos. All right. So the news of her son's birth, of course, we know, reached the courthouse on Tuesday. And of course, again, Nash is the one that, let him know that he was still in contact with her. Now, Cassie, known for the platinum-selling 2006 hit single, Me and You, married personal trainer Alex Fine in September of 2019, about a year after breaking up with Combs for good. Now, their first daughter, Frankie Stone Fine, was born in 2019, and they welcomed a second daughter, Sunny Cinco Fine, in 2021. Now, jurors heard from a Los Angeles police officer who responded to the December 2001 break-in at Cudi's home and an arson investigator who spoke about his efforts to solve the firebombing of Cudi's Porsche 911 weeks later. Officer Chris Ignacio said he found Christmas gifts, some open, with luxury watches and purses. Cudi has testified that his dog was traumatized after being locked in a bathroom by intruders. Now, Ignacio said he saw a car with tinted windows registered to bad boys outside the house, but didn't approach it because he had no proof of a crime had occurred. Now, prosecutors are trying to prove that Combs was behind the break-in and the subsequent firebombing, which involved a Molotov cocktail dropped through a hole sliced in the convertible's fabric roof. Now, Lance Jimenez, a Los Angeles Fire Department arson investigator, said the explosive was made from a 40-ounce Old English 800 malt liquor bottle and a silky designer handkerchief. I personally felt it was targeted, he said, of the January 9th, 2012 attack. Now, celebrity stylist Nash was a witness like no other, adding flair and humor within sounds of taking the stand on Wednesday. Asked if he wanted to testify, he cleared, absolutely not. Now, Nash said he knew Combs as Puff and Cassie as Cass. He said he responded to a Craigslist ad and started working at Bad Boy Entertainment as an intern and then as stylist from 2008 to 2018. Now, prosecutor Maureen Comey put a picture of Nash in front of him and asked, "Is it a glamour shot of you?" "Well, yes, I look amazing," Nash responded, drawing laughs. As what he had heard Combs called Cassie over the years, Nash answered, baby girl, CC Cass, and then listed a number of slurs against women. Asked how often Combs used one particular slur, Nash said, quite a bit. That was his fave. Now, Nash later testified that Cassie had confided in him that she didn't always want to go along with Combs' demands that she have S with other men during his drug-fueled freak-off marathons. Mia testified that Combs actually assaulted her on multiple occasions, forcibly kissing her and putting his hands up her dress at his 40th birthday party, forcing her to perform OS as they packed for a trip and RAINN her after he climbed into her bed at his Los Angeles home. Mia says she thought her S abuse was sporadic enough that each time it occurred, she thought it would never happen again. She says she put on a brave face and continued to work for Combs, in part because she felt shame, blame, and blamed herself and feared that would happen if she reported him to authorities. Now, Cassie had testified previously that Combs armed her after she broke up with him in 2018. Mia says she witnessed Combs physically attacking Cassie all the time at his houses, her apartments, hotels, events, while traveling. She said Combs also turned his wrath on her, throwing her into a swimming pool, dumping a bucket of ice on her, and hurling a bowl of spaghetti in her direction. Prosecutors insisted all week that they are ahead of schedule in presenting their case and said they could be done calling witnesses by mid-June. Oh, that's just right around the corner, right? But Combs' lawyer, Mark Agnafilio, said the defense's presentation might take longer than expected, particularly after prosecutors revealed they were making fairly substantial changes to their plan. It may be that because of witnesses, the government is not calling. We might have more on the defense case, he said. And as a result, he added the trial might run into the start of July. Well, I guess we'll have to see about that, right? It wouldn't surprise me if it did. I think that it was the case itself, trial in particular, was actually meant to run at least about a good 6 to 8 weeks. But you know how these things go. Trials will last as long as they're going to last, right? Until we get every bit of everything squeezed out of the situation by through all witnesses and testimony, cross examinations, all those types of things that take place. There's always going to be a surprise here and there. There may be a couple of days taken off during the time as well. So, anything's a go for this. Now, of course, as we've all talked about, pretty much explicitly, is that this has really become one of those cases that's the trial of the century. So it's going to be a lot of care taken, I believe, throughout the time of this trial. So I don't anticipate it, going down anytime soon. But, July does seem about a fair enough time for that, situation. But hey, if it can go down in a couple of weeks, because we're already the 1st of June, I'm here for it too. I mean, it seems pretty fast, right? Because at the end of the day, again, all things being alleged, but if Diddy is convicted on all these crimes, he's looking at life in prison. So stakes are really, really high. Whew. So I definitely would love to know your thoughts about the information that was shared in this video, some of the key moments that took place. We got to cover Capricorn Clark, and she apparently started off as a assistant and then got into I guess a more high prestigious position as time went on. But she has talked a lot about the abuses that she is aware of and allegations associated with this case as well. And of course, we had Mia, which I understand there was almost like not a dry eye in the room at some of the testimony that took place there. So very devastating, naturally, as far as the testimony is concerned, and also very jarring for people to hear. So of course, as always, we know there's a lot of back and forth about certain things and certain specifics, and so we just keep the train turning at this point. Now, some individuals have kind of flipped back and forth between what they feel and and some are pretty much steadfast, and although maybe surprised about certain situations that come up, not necessarily really thinking that it's changed the tone for them or the meter hasn't been moved for them. But there are some individuals who are kind of just taking into the aspect of looking at both sides of the situation, and as the testimony that is being shared is being provided, since obviously we don't have the ability to see it live ourselves, which however I do feel that as maybe at the time when we get to verdict watch, that probably will be live television, as most cases they are. So that's going to be quite interesting, isn't it? They're getting like a 2-3 hour head start to get us all ready to go. And I don't think there'll be a single television that's not going to be zoomed in on, or a TV, or, whatever mechanism you're using to watch, that's not going to be tuned into what's going to happen with that. Because there's a lot of people vested in the situation at this point, right? Including us. So that being said, I think that'll wrap it up for this part 2. We are kind of rolling through them pretty quickly, I think, this this week. So with that, I definitely want to make sure that you keep your all notification bells on, because I will be dropping part 3 here in a couple of hours, and we're going to be diving into another aspect of week 3. And so yeah, make sure you want to come on back. Again, I have already dropped part 1, so you do have some time between now and then to catch up on part 1 if you haven't got a chance to do so. It's another relatively short one, just going over the mistrial information, some of the details that came out from that. And of course, if you are new here, I hope you hit the subscribe button, be part of the family. I would so love to have you. And of course, for all of you that are continue to be family members here, I appreciate your viewing and listening support. And so with that, I'm going to bid you adieu on this video, but I will be back. So you make sure you come back. And make sure you're leaving your, thoughtful comments down in the comment section below, how you felt, what you think about some of the things that you've heard about these key moments and some of the testimony that's come out. There'll be more information as some more of these parts come through, but for sure, let me know what you're thinking and feeling. And especially if you've heard some of this information or other information as well you want to share throughout the week. Some people are able to catch up at a weekly situation, and some are able to watch every single day. So that can just kind of just change depending on the situation, right? So but let me know your thoughts down below. I would so love to know what you're thinking as this case continues to keep turning. So with that, I will see you later. Bye.